Okay.
So what we have, the Indians were here, right, in the 17th century, all right? So we were just filled with Indians. This was our camping ground. This here was our camping ground, all right? And you know what? The English were coming over. So the Woolley family were Quakers, and they come here. And on this campsite, they sell the land to other Quakers from Rhode Island, and they established themselves here in Ocean Township. They were the first settlers. They were Englishmen in Shrewsbury, an English colony, right? Not yet America, all right?
Right.
And they owned all this land, all the farm. There were three brothers, and John was the one that had this land. And what we then have, you go in the back in the little room, there's one room that was a house of the grandson, Thomas, okay? And he was a committee man for Shrewsbury. And he owned the farm, he built his own house, added to it, added the back, went upstairs, and then eventually this side was one. Now, 1835, we call this the Eden Woolley house, because Eden Woolley was his first cousin, but much younger. And Thomas is going to pass on, and Eden is going to acquire all this property. He was a farmer and a lender and a surveyor. Okay, so and an American. By this time, the Woolleys were all American, and they redecorate the house in the Greek style, classical style, because they're proud of their democracy. So we have that. Now, in 1849, why this is called the Eden Woolley House is because Eden was one of the first councilmen of the new Ocean Township. It was really the Township of Ocean. That was our formal name. And we went, and you'll see it there, went from Seabright all the way down to Avon. We were the whole coastline. That's why we were called Ocean. And one by one, all the little townships, Asbury, Long Ridge, so on, became their own people, own townships. So then, but in 1926, this is now the Industrial Revolution, and the Civil War is over, and you have this area became a retreat for all the wealthy bankers and people, and eventually 7 presidents. That was Long Ridge, but that was part of Ocean Township at that time. So we have all this history. That's the Industrial Revolution when you're going to change. We have a map in there that will show you, or a picture, how, we were farming, we were about manpower and horsepower and water power. And then the Industrial Revolution brings in steam, the train, and everything's going to change. Okay. And now we're having one on women. All this was happening in these early 1920s. When this really formed our country, this whole period, all right? And we are more or less what that happened in that time. Now, this exhibition is about women. They didn't get the vote until 1920, okay?
Right.
And that was after the Civil Rights Amendments and changes, all right? So they came after, but around that same time. And this was the time of the robber barons, right, the bankers and so on. So what we do in this, you can see this exhibition, if you go around and see these white cards, you can come back, I'll show you the rest of the thing.
Okay.
These white cards show you the different divisions of this exhibition.
And I got a confirmation of, that was good.
Well, yeah, usually you do.
And this was 26th of August. And she said, you will have it by the 30th of August.
That's what it is.
That's right. Very good. So as it turns out, that's what happened.
Okay.
But before that happened, this email came on. I get calls from this woman who says, not calls, text, email, or text. I'll get a text. Hi, Ellen. Is Ronnie around? I have this great deal for Ronnie. Now the word.
Yeah, he's taking pictures.
He is really, really. Okay. This is Ronnie.
Hey, you look good in this one.
So,
Things have changed a lot, right?
oh,
Oh, yeah.
the thing said, we think you're having trouble
Do you live in Ocean Township?
Yeah.
placing your order.
Yes.
So we would like you to.
How come this is here? Because this is like, is this still Monmouth there yet? I mean, Ocean, I thought it was, yeah, Ocean Township or Ocean
Well,
County.
we're Monmouth County. Okay?
Right, yeah.
Now, when before, we became.
Yeah, I live in Ocean County.
Oh, you live in
on the-
Ocean
yeah.
County?
I said, this is ridiculous. This is not right.
Okay.
So, anyhow, the order came. No, that's
Okay.
all right.
Okay, so this was the Eden Boyd house. This is the parlor. These rooms were split in two rooms because, and notice how low the ceilings are because people were not.
For the old houses it is, yeah.
Right. Okay, so now all this and the next room you go into is as it was. It's just refurbished, but it's still historically it's from that time, 1849.
Last night we paid that kind of thing. So,
So what was that? This would be two rooms when Eden was here. The back was his office. He was a surveyor. I told you he's going to be one of the first councilmen of the new Ocean Township. That was really the township of Ocean in Monmouth County. All right, we're not Ocean. All right. So originally, before they split that up, Ocean and County and Monmouth County were more almost together. All right, Shrewsbury was in that
coming from England.
part of the land. And then when the history is breaking everything down smaller. Okay, so first they separated the counties. And then in the counties, you had the big township like Ocean. Here is a map. This is the original Ocean Township, or Township of Ocean, from Seabright all the way down to Avon. Back through Neptune and almost Cook's Neck, Eatontown, that was all part of Ocean Township. That's why we're called Ocean, because we had the whole coastline, right? Now, after that time, everybody's breaking off. So one by one, they all became their own township. And the last one was 1957, Loch Arbor, who has a little tiny ocean, and they left. They became their own municipality, and that left us landlocked. So what we are in Ocean Township now is no ocean. We are Oakhurst, Wayside, and Wanamassa, and other little things, but that's basically what we are, okay? And we're just right here, off all these coastal towns. So what we do when we show Oakhurst, we show what it was like. You see this, and move the picture. No. We had a picture. Anyway.
They stole it?
Yeah, right. They moved it. All right, what Oakhurst was a little town village. It was Monmouth Road. If you go down to Monmouth Road, all right, that was where the farmers would take we had a grist mill where the farmers would take their wheat and their corn and grind it up and put it into flour and disperse it. And we had a blacksmith because this was the time before you had steam, all right? Before you had the new change thing. It was manpower, horsepower, and water power. That was your power. And that's why very slow. Things moved very slowly and they didn't change. In the 1920s, when you have the Industrial Revolution, actually started way before that, that's when you're going to get steam power. And you're going to get the trains. And that's where you end up with the cars and everything that's changed. So Wayside is over across the highway, back in the hills. That's the other main division here in our now Ocean Township. And we had a dairy, we had ice harvesting, we had a little park with a spring, we had a poorhouse.
That's not there now, or how?
Well, the spring is still there, that's kept well, they have to sell water. But the house is built around it, all right? So it's our oldest business, but the spring itself is used for this business, not for recreation, as it was at one time, right? We have a poorhouse, and that's very representative of the time. No government help, right? We had Monmouth Road was a toll road, built by private people, and you had to pay to go on Monmouth Road. What we had in a poorhouse was another indication of the times. A woman had all this property, and she hired 75 indigent men, boarded them, fed them, and they worked her farm. Right, that's how she managed. Right? And we also had up there in Wayside, which was kind of the boondocks, we had a pest house, no hospital. So if you got sick, you couldn't be in Oakhurst because that's a communicable disease, right? You had to be sent back to the boondocks in Wayside to the pest house because remember there was no antibiotics or anything like that. So these were tough times, right?
Right, they just sent you there to wait it out. If you got lucky, you got lucky. If
Not
you
too
didn't,
many
you
of them
didn't.
came
Right.
back. Not too many of them came back. Yeah. There's a big graveyard up there somewhere where they were all buried. So we had no antibiotic, no hospitals, you know, in that sense. So it took a while for that to develop, and that came with the Industrial Revolution and after that, you know. I mean, because that Industrial Revolution went through all these changes, the women's vote, prohibition, the then freedom, and to this First World War and then the Second World War. And it was after the Second World War that things radically changed in our country. Okay? But of course they were changing in the First World War too. Okay, this is Wanamassa. And what characterizes Wanamassa, we have three big divisions in Ocean Township: Oakhurst, Wayside, and Wanamassa. There are other smaller ones, but they're the big ones. And in Wanamassa we had this lake, Deal Lake, and it was at one time.
I know it well.
You know
My
well?
favorite fishing spot.
Oh, okay. But it's quite polluted now, but it was wonderful at one time. It was crystal clear. And we had the Ross Fenton Farm off that lake, among other things. And that was a very fancy nightclub. And they say there like it costs $1 for a crab cocktail. That was very expensive. Because for 75 cents you could have a whole lobster dinner, as one of our guests told me. So we had various kinds of things happen there. And actually it was a place where the Quakers came down and bought the land, and it really, you know, not really bought, from the Indians to kind of move them away. They gave them a contract. So, and they gave them some trifles to get them away. And we have this mammoth here to tell you that they found a fossil of a mastodon, his cousin. You know, that's related to the elephant.
Is that right?
Yeah, and they found the fossil of a mastodon in that park because before the Indians, this was the land before time. It was all prehistoric animals. You know, then the Indians came in, and then the English came in, and the Dutch, and all the other Europeans. Okay, so it's quite a fascinating history. And now over there, if you take a walk in our park, when you talk about this industrial change, they had a little white building. AT&T built it, put their scientists in it. The building is still there. You can see it. It's not open, but that is where they did ship-to-shore radio, and then eventually that's going to be radio. And the most fascinating thing about our little township is that in the 1950s, with all the Army around here, they rented that land, the Army, Deal Test Site, and they used that same building, and they tracked digitally Sputnik. And that began in the 1950s or whatever it was, 60s. That began our space age. Okay.
Right, okay.
Because after that we put our satellites up. So that's what all this. And it also, in Wayside, you know, this is representing farmland. Wayside was up until the 50s, all farmland, as was most of New Jersey. And then that changes to the housing phenomena. Of course, after the war, you know, we had all the GIs coming, and they all got houses, but housing became the phenomena in this country, okay? And everywhere, because that was all right. And this is our room over here, our one room. So it began with Thomas's grandfather John being the first people on the land. They lived in a cave while they were waiting to build their house and establish their farm. This is Thomas's that he built himself, 1747, only up to here, a one-room, all right, house. He built it himself. This was it. Now eventually, he's going to be, I told you, the committee man of his English colony, Shrewsbury, and he would build in the back, and then he would build upstairs. And we think he eventually built the whole extension, but his cousin Eaton acquired the property. So that's why we call this the Eden Bowl. And he became the first committeeman of Ocean Township. But it began here with this one room. This is how they lived. They did everything themselves, and we fill this with artifacts from old things. So you have everything. They lived here sunrise to sunset with the fire, the hearth being how they lived, how they cooked their food, how they slept with warmth, and of course they had to go outside to get the water, to go to their toilet, and so on. So we came out of this, all of us. Right? Now, in 1926, this woolly house is sold because we have a lot of people that come from the city. This is what Deal is about, and so on, and make this their vacation land. So this house was built by the Wertheimers, and they added the touches you see here. They added more room, they added that kind of fancy closet, and they added a kitchen. So that was 1926, and it was the first time we got outside of it. Sold to them by the Eden Woolley, I think it was grandchildren. Okay?
Okay.
So that people are welcome to look around and take your pictures.
Oh, that's okay. I pretty much got them as I'm going.
Okay?
Yep.
Any questions?
No, that's it then? Okay.
Awesome.
All right, thank you.
Did you sign our book?
No.